Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor. I'm in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. How are you guys doing? How is your gardening coming along? Why don't you guys let me know in the comments below. Beautiful, sunny, warm summer day here in Long Island, New York. We have been having heavy rains here non-stop since last week in Long Island, New York. So I'm so excited that the rainstorms have passed. The sun is out and shining again, which means I can finally get out here into my backyard home garden and finally get my hands nice and dirty once again. In today's video, I will show you this white powder. In fact, I like to refer to it as magical powder because when used properly, it will double your tomato harvest in your home garden. In fact, this powder can and should be used on any flowering vegetable such as tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, eggplants, etc. When and if used properly and correctly, it will double your fruit harvest, guaranteed. In fact, if you are growing fruits on trees in your home garden and these fruits come from blooms, you can use this magic white powder on your fruit trees as well, and it will double your fruit production. And that magic white powder is, drum roll please, bone meal, guys. Yes, in today's video, we're going to talk about using bone meal to double our harvest. So if you guys are looking for that online channel that offers tips, tricks, easy yet proven gardening advice to take your home garden to that next level, don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around. Start with clicking the subscribe button. And if you never want to miss any of my new upcoming gardening videos, click the bell icon as well. YouTube will notify you every single time I'll upload a new gardening video. Now come with me, guys. Let's talk all about this magic white powder and how it will double your fruit harvest. Bone meal has amazing properties, guys, and when used properly in your home garden, it can help increase the size of your blooms on your plants, again, such as tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, eggplant, and even fruit trees. When buying a bone meal product at your local nursery or garden center, it is important that you buy one that is ground as fine and as small as it possibly can be. Because as the name itself suggests, bone meal, it is made from a bone, and bone does take some time to break down and get absorbed into your soil in your home garden. When buying any fertilizer at a nursery or garden center, every single fertilizer comes with 3 numbers in the front, usually separated by 2 dashes. And those numbers, those 3 numbers, always stand for the N, P, K percentage ratio. So some of you guys may have heard of NPK ratio, but maybe you're not familiar with what those letters, those abbreviations stand for. N stands for nitrogen, P stands for phosphorus, and K stands for potassium levels inside that fertilizer. Nitrogen is an important component of any fertilizer as it is responsible for new green foliage, healthy leaves, and healthy stems on your plants. Phosphorus is important for roots, blooms, and the setting of the fruit. Potassium is important for life processes and the plant's metabolism. Every single plant in your home or your home garden needs all 3 of these ratios in order to even survive, guys. However, playing around with these ratios can give you a better impact in the desired area that you're potentially trying to boost or improve. As previously mentioned, phosphorus is essentially crucial and responsible for the blooms and the fruiting of your plants. And bone meal has a high percentage of phosphorus in it. Bone meal, regardless of the brand, is known for its high phosphorus composition. Every package of every single fertilizer will have the NPK breakdown ratio either in the front of the packet or the back. As you could see here, this foam organic bone meal has 4% of the nitrogen, 12% of the phosphorus, and 12% of the K, of the potassium. So remember that these 12%, they are water soluble and they are organic, meaning that they come from an organic source, and it will take some time for it to break down in the soil in order to have the key to our success. Because it is water soluble and it is organic, and it does take some time for it to decompose in your soil to reach the plant's root system. That is essentially exactly what the plants need. It takes time for that correct amount of phosphorus to reach your plant's root system. And by that time, the plant absorbs exactly the amount of phosphorus that it needs to successfully grow, bloom, and to produce those large, sweet fruits for us to harvest. Constant, slow release of phosphorus will guarantee us constant, large blooms, hence constant, large fruits. Now I'm going to show you exactly how to use bone meal in your home garden. But before I do that, I want to mention some of the counter arguments that I personally heard from other fellow gardeners when it comes to using bone meal. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I don't think that those two counter arguments necessarily make sense, and why I still continue to use bone meal in my home garden, and why I still have large, abundant harvests on my tomato, cucumber, zucchini, and eggplant plants. So I've heard plenty of fellow gardeners say that it's useless, pointless to add bone meal to your soil in your home garden unless you do a proper soil test, as the soil in your home garden may already contain an abundance of phosphorus. So why add more phosphorus if your soil already has that phosphorus? Now let me tell you why I don't agree with this specific counter argument. I don't know how many of you, my fellow gardeners, have done a correct, proper soil test in your home garden. To do a proper soil test, you must get soil from various parts of your home garden. You can't just pick one location because you just want to test it, or two locations, or even three. You need to get soil from various points in your home garden, and you need to test it with the correct testing kit. And you need to do soil tests at least once a year to maximum once every 2 years. You cannot do it sporadically, randomly. You need to keep a very, very meticulous record of where you get the soil from, which testing kit you're using, and when exactly you did the soil test, so you can repeat it when the time comes. When you're growing plants in your home garden, I just want to remind you guys that plants take so much more out of your home garden soil that you can ever put back as a gardener. Some plants, especially the heavy feeders, will suck your soil bone dry from nutrients, and you will have to add those nutrients back before you even think about planting the next crop in that specific spot. So I don't think it makes sense for a home gardener like myself to do a soil test, guys. Because remember, we are planting majority of our plants annually. So you might start out with perfect composted soil, perfect amount of fertilizer, nutrients. But after a few seasons of growing plants in your home garden, especially again those heavy feeders like cucumbers, like zucchini, melon, pumpkins, corn, at the end of those few seasons, your soil will be depleted of those nutrients. And guess what, guys? You will have to add more compost, more fertilizer, so you can grow more plants in those areas. Also remember, guys, not all phosphorus is necessarily biodegradable. So even if you do decide to do a soil test, and let's say that soil test comes back and shows you that there's a specific percentage of phosphorus in that soil in your home garden, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the phosphorus that your particular plant that you're growing in that area can even tolerate or even process correctly in its root system. Again, remember, my fellow home gardeners, just because you do a soil test and it does show you a good amount, a good percentage of phosphorus composition in that soil, that doesn't mean that that's the type of phosphorus that your plant can tolerate and process. So you might still have to give your plant or the plant's root system a boost by giving it some of that correct, organic, biodegradable phosphorus. And how do you give that organic, biodegradable phosphorus to your plant? By adding bone meal to your plant's soil. So what is argument, a counter argument number 2 that I've heard a lot of home gardeners use? The counter argument number 2 is that your plant does not need that much phosphorus to survive. Well, let's look at it this way, guys. Can a professional athlete survive on the same amount of calories, on the same nutrition as, say, a worker, a hard worker, but a worker that works at a job sitting at a desk in an office? Just like plants, humans need a different amount of nutrients in order to ascend to that different level of performance. I know that all of us gardeners work so hard all year round to make sure that our plants survive, thrive, prosper, and produce an abundant harvest for us. We work hard in the winter to start our plants from seed. We work so hard in the spring to transplant our seedlings. We work so hard in the summer to take care of our plants, to make sure that they're watered properly, fertilized properly, make sure that they're not struggling in the heat, that they're fighting for nutrients from those unwanted weeds. Which is exactly why when I plant my herbs, my veggies, my flowers, any plant in my home garden, I just don't want it to simply survive. I want each of my plants to thrive. I want that Olympic plant that's going to thrive in my home garden and that's going to produce huge blooms for me, hence an abundant fruit harvest. If you give your plant just enough so if it survives, I mean, it's gonna grow for you. It might still produce fruits for you, but it will be a mediocre, average plant. And we all want our plants to thrive, not simply survive. So now how and when do I use bone meal in my home garden when it comes to growing my plants? First and foremost, when I am planting or transplanting my tomatoes, my cucumbers, my peppers, my zucchini plants, I always add bone meal to every single hole that I make when I'm transplanting or planting each of my tomato plants. So of course I make a hole, I sprinkle diligent amount of bone meal inside the hole, as well as on the plants, on the seedlings root system. I place my plant inside that hole, I backfill the hole, and then I sprinkle more bone meal around the perimeter of the plant. Once I am done planting all of my plants, whether they are tomato plants, cucumber plants, eggplants, I make sure that I water each area around my plant diligently. So all of that bone meal that I sprinkled inside the growing hole, as well as around each plant, starts to break down and get absorbed by the soil and, of course, my plant's root system. Next time that I usually apply bone meal to my plants is now, actually, guys, when I see that my plants are starting to form flowers and these flowers start to bloom. I want to see more of these flowers. I want to see larger blooms, which is exactly why at the time your plants are starting to finally bloom, I take my bone meal and I diligently sprinkle it around each and every one of my plants. And then I water each of my plants diligently so that bone meal starts to break down and get absorbed by the soil and the plant's root system. If I know that it's going to rain within the next day or two, maybe I'll give my plant a little less water, knowing that Mother Nature will take care of the watering. But essentially, you do want to water in the bone meal into the soil as soon as you apply it around your plants. Some of us prefer to use other organic fertilizers on our plants, such as the Spom Organic Garden Tone. That is fine to do as well. Just remember, guys, other fertilizers might not have such a high percentage of phosphorus in it. For example, Garden Tone only has 5 to 3 to 3 NPK ratio. So the phosphorus ratio is only 3 in the Garden Tone fertilizer versus the 12 in the bone meal fertilizer. So I do prefer to use bone meal because remember, it has a high percentage of phosphorus, which is essentially responsible for more blooms and larger fruit sizing. This is it for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here on this gorgeous summer day in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. In today's video, we spoke about a white magical powder called bone meal. And when used correctly and properly, it will double your fruit harvest. It will give you more blooms and larger, more abundant harvest in your home garden. If you guys enjoyed watching this video, if you found this video to be useful, informative, helpful, show me that support by clicking thumbs up below. Leave your comments below, guys. Let me know, do you use bone meal in your home garden? Does it help with your bloom size and the harvest of the fruits in your home gardens? If you haven't yet done so, do so, guys, today. Subscribe to my channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor. So easy for you to do, yet so pleasing and rewarding, knowing that you guys enjoy watching my videos, that you find them to be useful, helpful. Don't forget to click that bell icon. YouTube will notify you every time I'll upload a new gardening videos. Stay healthy, guys. Happy. Enjoy the upcoming holidays. And be well, guys. And I'll see you again in my new upcoming gardening video. Happy gardening, guys. Bye.